Have you ever wondered why some people are born into wealthy families while others struggle their entire lives in poverty? Why some seem to have everything and others nothing? Does God choose some to be rich and others to be poor? This is one of the deepest and most controversial questions about prosperity, and the answer might shock you. Because what you believe about this completely determines your relationship with money and your potential to prosper. In the next few minutes, we're going to explore what ancient spiritual traditions really teach about this, and why the answer will free you from beliefs that might be limiting your prosperity. Get ready, because this video could change everything. Welcome to 10 Minutes of Wisdom, where we explore ancient wisdom applied to modern life. I'm your name, and today we're diving into a question many people are afraid to ask out loud, but that profoundly affects their ability to prosper. If you want to understand the spiritual truth about wealth and poverty, hit that like button now and subscribe to the channel, because what we're exploring here will challenge many distorted religious beliefs about money. Let's start by talking about the belief that paralyzes millions of people around the world. It's the idea that God, the universe, or some higher power decided beforehand who will be rich and who will be poor. That prosperity is luck, destiny, or divine choice that you cannot influence. This belief is devastating because if you believe this, you automatically place yourself in a position of total powerlessness. If God chose you to be poor, what can you do? Why bother? Why learn about money? Why try to change? You're destined for scarcity. Period. But let me ask you a question. Would a loving God, an abundant universe, really create a system where some people are arbitrarily condemned to poverty and others chosen for wealth? Does this make sense with a benevolent creator? Or is this a distorted interpretation that justifies inequality and paralyzes people? The truth is that this belief doesn't come from original sacred scriptures, nor from authentic spiritual teachings. It comes from human interpretations, often made to control people, to maintain power structures, to justify exploitation. And when you understand what the traditions really teach, the story is completely different. Let's explore what three great spiritual traditions, Judaism, Christianity, and Stoicism, really say about this. Jewish perspective. Free will and responsibility. In Judaism, there's a fundamental concept called Bechira Chofshit, which means free will. Jewish tradition clearly teaches that God created the world with natural and spiritual laws and gave human beings the ability to choose how to live within those laws. The Talmud says something revolutionary. Everything is in the hands of heaven, except the fear of heaven. This means God controls many things in the universe, but our moral choices, our actions, our efforts are in our hands. There's a famous story about Rabbi Akiva, one of the greatest Jewish sages, who was extremely poor in his youth. He was a shepherd, illiterate, without prospects, but at age 40, he decided to learn to read and study. He became one of the wisest and most prosperous men of his generation. His transformation wasn't arbitrary divine miracle, it was the result of choice and effort. Jewish tradition is clear. God blesses work, not laziness. Blesses wisdom, not ignorance. Blesses generosity, not selfishness. Blessings come, but you have to create the conditions to receive them. It's partnership, not determinism. Christian perspective, talents and stewardship. Jesus taught the parable of the talents, which is often misunderstood. In the story, a master gives different amounts of money to 3 servants. 2 invest and multiply, 1 buries out of fear. When the master returns, he rewards those who multiplied and punishes the one who hid. What's the message? That you receive resources, talents, opportunities. God doesn't distribute everything equally at the start, that's true. But what you do with what you receive is your responsibility. Do you multiply or do you hide out of fear? The Bible says, "Ask and you shall receive, seek and you shall find, knock and the door will be opened." See? It's active, not passive. You have to ask, seek, knock. Prosperity isn't delivered arbitrarily. It's co-created through faith combined with action. And there's another crucial principle. Stewardship. You're not the ultimate owner of anything, you're an administrator of the resources God entrusts to you. If you administer well, more is entrusted to you. If you administer poorly, even what you have is taken away. This is in the parable, it's in Proverbs, it's throughout authentic Christian teaching. Stoic perspective. Accept what you don't control, act on what you do. The Stoics had a fascinating view. Epictetus, who was a slave before becoming a philosopher, taught, "There is what's under your control and what isn't. Under your control are your opinions, aspirations, desires, and aversions. Outside your control is everything else." You don't control where you were born, in what family, with what initial opportunities. That's not under your control. But what you do with your circumstances, that's totally under your control. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." He didn't say everyone is born equal. He said that regardless of where you start, you have power over how you respond. The Stoic idea isn't that the gods choose who prospers. It's that the universe is neutral, operates by natural laws, and your virtue, wisdom, and actions determine your results within those laws. So here's the truth that all these traditions converge on. God, the universe, the source, whatever you want to call it, doesn't arbitrarily choose who will be rich or poor. What exists is a system of spiritual and natural laws that govern prosperity, and these laws work equally for everyone. It's true that people don't start from the same point. This is undeniable. Someone is born into a wealthy family with access to education, connections, capital. Another is born in extreme poverty, without resources, without support. Is this unfair? From a human perspective, yes. But here's what's crucial to understand. The starting point doesn't determine the ending point. There are countless examples of people who started with nothing and created fortunes. And there are countless examples of people who inherited everything and lost everything. Why? Because what determines your prosperity isn't where you start, it's what you do with what you have. The spiritual laws of prosperity we explore on this channel, they work for everyone. The law of circulation, when you give generously, you receive more generously. Works for the rich, works for the poor. The law of sowing and reaping. You harvest what you plant. Works for everyone. The law of gratitude and expansion. What you appreciate multiplies. Universal. The problem isn't that God chooses some and rejects others. The problem is that most people don't know these laws, or know them but don't apply them. And when you don't know the laws, you suffer the natural consequences of ignorance. It's like gravity. Gravity isn't personal. It's not that God decided you'll fall if you jump off a building and another person will fly. The law is neutral. If you jump, you fall. If you build a plane and understand the laws of aerodynamics, you fly. Same gravity, different results based on knowledge and action. Now, does this mean spirituality doesn't matter? That prayer doesn't work? That God never intervenes? No. It means the way it works is different from what many believe. Authentic faith isn't believing God will magically deposit money in your account while you do nothing. Authentic faith is trusting that when you act according to spiritual laws, when you plant the right seeds, when you work with integrity, when you serve with excellence, blessings will come. The Bible says, "Faith without works is dead." The Talmud says, "It's not your responsibility to finish the work, but you're not free to abandon it." The Stoics say, "Pray as if everything depends on God. Act as if everything depends on you." It's the combination. You align your spirit through prayer, gratitude, meditation, connection with, and you align your actions through work, study, value creation, generosity. When spirit and action align, you become a magnet for prosperity. And yes, miracles happen. Unexpected opportunities arise. Doors open in ways you can't explain logically. But these miracles happen to those who are in motion, to those who are planting, to those who are aligned with spiritual laws. So, what do you do with this truth? How do you apply this in your life? First, abandon the victim mentality. Stop blaming God, the government, the economy, your family, your circumstances. Yes, some things weren't under your control, but many things are. Focus on what you can control. Second, study the spiritual laws of prosperity. Understand how they work. Apply them consistently. Be generous, plant value, cultivate gratitude, develop your skills, act with integrity. The laws work when you honor them. Third, combine faith with action. Pray, but also work. Visualize, but also execute. Trust, but also learn. Spirituality and practicality aren't opposites, they're complementary. Fourth, be patient but persistent. You might not see immediate results, but if you keep planting, if you stay aligned with the laws, the harvest is inevitable. It might not be in your timing, but it will come at the right time. And fifth, and you will prosper, use your abundance to bless others. Teach what you learned. Help people escape poverty. Be a channel of blessing. Because true prosperity isn't just for you, it's meant to flow through you. So, does God choose who will be rich and who will be poor? No. God created fair laws that work equally for everyone. What God chose was to give you free will, intelligence, potential, and an abundant universe full of resources. What do you choose to do with that? That's the only question that matters. Will you live as a victim of circumstances, blaming external forces for your situation? Or will you take responsibility, learn the spiritual laws, and co-create your prosperity in partnership with the divine? The choice is yours. It always has been, and it always will be. If this video opened your eyes to a new perspective on prosperity and spirituality, hit that like button now. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications because we'll continue exploring profound wisdom that transforms lives. And comment below, what was your biggest discovery in this video? Did this message free you from any limiting belief? I want to know, and I'll respond to you. Always remember, you're not a victim of destiny. You're a co-creator of your reality. God gave you the tools. Now use them. Prosper not because you were arbitrarily chosen, but because you chose to align yourself with the laws of abundance. See you in the next video. Until then, choose prosperity and act accordingly.